Welcome to the Markets Talk podcast, where we help you make sense of West Africa's investment world. This podcast is brought to you by Daba, your most comprehensive platform for investing in African stocks, bonds, and managed funds. You can download the Daba app on your favorite Google and Apple app stores. This week, there is very good news for investors on the BRVM. Pause. Even though the market overall moved slightly lower, activity is rising sharply, and that is often a sign that something is building beneath the surface. Let's start with what really matters. The market was active, very active. Trading volumes increased significantly, reaching more than 5 million shares, and more importantly, the total value of transactions jumped to over 7.3 billion francs CFA. So what does that actually mean for you as an investor? It means that even though prices declined slightly, investors are still present. They are buying, selling, repositioning. And that is typically the sign of a market in transition, not a market in distress. Now, let's look at the market indexes. The BRVM Composite Index declined by 0.60% to close at 406.18 points. The BRVM 30 also moved lower by 0.31%. The BRVM Prestige declined by 0.53%. And the BRVM Principal recorded the largest drop, falling by 1.35%. Yes, the indexes moved lower this week. But here is what many investors miss. The market is breathing. After several weeks of gains across certain stocks, investors are taking profits. This is healthy, this is normal, and most importantly, it creates the conditions for the next move upward. Now, let's talk about the top performers of the week. On the upside, 3 stocks clearly stood out. Africa Global Logistics Côte d'Ivoire rose by 7.35%. Arium Côte d'Ivoire gained 11.96%. And Aura Group Togo increased by 8.47%. And there is an important lesson here. These gains did not happen randomly. They followed previous price declines, creating attractive entry points for investors. It is similar to buying real estate when prices dip before they recover. Investors who track these patterns are often the ones who capture these rebounds. On the downside, some stocks declined significantly. Palm Côte d'Ivoire dropped by 12.30%. Unilever Côte d'Ivoire declined by 9.99%. And CFAO Côte d'Ivoire fell by 9.19%. So why did these stocks move lower? Mainly due to financial results and profit-taking. In simple terms, investors who had gains decided to sell and lock in profits. And for long-term investors, this often creates new buying opportunities. Now let's focus on something many investors underestimate: liquidity. One stock-dominated trading activity this week. Sonatel Senegal recorded more than 1 billion francs CFA in traded value. Why does that matter? Because a liquid stock is one you can easily buy or sell. And Sonatel remains a benchmark on the BRVM, known for its stability, strong fundamentals, and consistent investor demand. Now, let's move to the bond market. And here, the news is very positive. The bond market capitalization increased by 1.21%, reaching over 12,000 billion francs CFA. Yes, over 12,000 billion. Trading activity was also strong. More than 3.4 million bonds were exchanged, representing over 34 billion francs CFA. And one instrument dominated the market. A Senegal sovereign 10-year bond accounted for about 74% of total bond transactions. That tells us something very important. Investors trust long-term government bonds, and they are actively seeking stable returns. So why are bonds attracting so much interest right now? Because they offer attractive yields, often between 7% and 9%. And importantly, they are perceived as less volatile than equities. In uncertain market conditions, bonds act as a stabilizing component in a portfolio. Now let's talk about what many investors are watching closely: dividends. This week confirms a strong trend. Average dividend yields are around 5.90%. That is highly attractive. Some companies are offering yields above 6% or even 7%. This means you can earn income simply by holding the stock. Imagine investing and receiving regular cash payments without selling your shares. So what does all of this mean for you? First, the market remains active, even during short-term declines. Second, opportunities often emerge after price corrections. Third, bonds and dividends continue to provide stable income. In short, the market is evolving, not weakening. Now, let's look ahead to the coming week. New opportunities are starting to emerge. Some stocks are trading at attractive entry levels. Some sectors are showing early signs of momentum, and valuation gaps are beginning to appear across the market. But these opportunities are not always obvious at first glance. To receive weekly recommendations, access exclusive insights, and reduce your investment costs, subscribe to Daba Pro. Pause. With Daba Pro, you don't just follow the market, you stay ahead of it. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Daba Markets Talk podcast. We'll be back next week with another update. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating, follow us, and share with friends. Remember, this information is for educational purposes. Always do your own research or consult with a financial advisor before making investment decisions. And download the Daba app on your App Store to start investing in African stocks, bonds, and manage portfolios through your phone and find other helpful content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing your financial knowledge.